And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Two Schmoes Show, the show where we can never tell what the fuck is actually going on because people are always posting shit on Twitter that makes me believe that shit is actually happening when it's not. I'm Miss Orion and I'm a Schmo,
I'm Kyril, and I'm also a Schmo.
and this is the Two Schmo Show. How are you doing this week, Kyril?
Good, actually. I've
Oh,
been really enjoying the weather.
it is officially
It's
fall.
it's so nice. It's so nice to not just be sweating whenever I step outside.
Let's see, what's the current temp here in good old Michigan?
It was still in like the mid 60s where I am.
Mid 60s where you are? I am
hmm
at 61, so
For the first time since like April, I think I haven't had to run my air conditioner in 24 hours.
So we've been very hesitant on using our AC up here, and my office gets super hot because of my fucking computer going off and using its fan during
hmm
all that heat.
Yep,
I've been absolutely miserable and sticky for like the last 3 months.
that's awful.
Yeah, fuck humidity.
Yep, water
Overall,
is bad. We should just get rid of it.
water is bad. Let's just drain the Great Lakes, everybody. Replace them with oil. I'm
New national reserves.
Yeah, dude. Let's just go full on Enbridge. You know they already want to do this.
That would be a lot of oil.
That would be. I think that's probably more oil than there is on the planet at the moment.
It probably would be. Yeah.
Oh
That's
shit.
a Great Lakes are big. I remember I wasn't alive for this, but my grandmother is from England. And after she immigrated here and was established for a while, her and my grandfather brought her uncle or her grandfather to visit in the US and to see, Michigan in general. And they brought him to Lake Michigan. And he didn't believe that it wasn't the ocean. He thought they were fucking with him and took him to one of the oceans because it was bigger than any freshwater body he had ever seen. And they demanded that they take him to the waterfront so that he could see if it was salty or not because he didn't believe them that it wasn't the ocean because he could, you can't see the other side. You can see
Yeah.
the other side of a lake. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Let's see here. They are described as freshwater lakes with certain sea-like characteristics.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because they're just so fucking big.
Fuck. Have you visited all the Great Lakes?
I haven't visited. Maybe I have. I have. I haven't. I mean, I don't know if I've like actually swam in Lake Erie, but I've been on the coast at least of all of them.
I have been on Michigan and Superior.
hmm
I'm debating if I've been to a third one or not. I need to like just genuinely kind of look at this.
Yeah.
I want to say I was probably on Huron because Mackinac Island for obvious
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck
That
Lake
was my
Erie and
thought too.
Ontario. They need to be on this peninsula with us.
Actually, um, so I've definitely swam in Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and Lake Superior just doing camping stuff. Lake Erie, I'm pretty sure I would have swam in visiting like Cedar Point or something like that. Lake Ontario though, I thought those were the other way around. I don't think I've been to Lake Ontario.
No. No, I don't think anybody from Michigan really cares about Lake Ontario. It's a traitor.
No. It's got a Canadian name.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even near Ontario. Like, look at a map. You know, you can see Ontario up there, but
hmm
it's fucking closer to New York.
It's a fraud.
It's a fraud.
Um, I'm trying to think. I guess to do that, I would have to go to Niagara Falls, and I've not done that yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Still need to make that trip.
So, how was your well, how is the news in these here parts?
The news is spicy. Let me tell
Spicy.
you. uh, big news out of the war in Ukraine. Um, Big news from the Mar-a-Lago case that is just some it's
Mm.
good.
Okay.
It's ripe. It's just really good stuff. And I didn't mention it before the show. We were getting ready there, but big stuff going on in Iran right now
Oh
that
yes.
we will definitely need to be talking about a bit later on because, oh boy.
Well, where would you like to start, my good sir? Pick a place on the planet.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's set the stage here because in the hours leading up to Putin's announcement regarding the escalation of Russia's side of the war in Ukraine, which is kind of the gist of what's been going on, it was really interesting to see because the intent was that his announcement was supposed to happen at like 6 a.m. our time that morning, and it got delayed for some reason. And no one really knew why it got delayed. And I don't think we really do even yet know why Putin delayed it. Um, but in the time of that delay, in kind of like the biggest but really fucking scary flex that the US and NATO support air defense around Ukraine's border has done, all of the planes turned their transponders off
What?
and just went dark. And I'll be honest, hearing that when I got up that morning and like skimming Twitter and Reddit and seeing that that had happened was like probably the first time that I felt personally scared during the entire war in Ukraine. Because that's like real escalation.
How long were they
And
off?
they're still off.
They're still off.
No, they are all completely dark. Yes. Through the whole 100+ days that this has been going on, it's probably closer to 120 now. Uh, all of the NATO aircraft that have been running observation, running radar and satellite, supporting the Ukraine forces in general from NATO borders, though they're not within Ukraine, they're just way up in the sky, looking down. Um, they've all had their trackers on, and it's been really interesting. My father works in aviation. He showed me this a couple of times. You can go on pretty much any generic flight tracker app, and you can see the flight paths that they're doing, and you can see these like radar aircraft doing these just back and forth, just doing turns and going up and down the border really consistently. Dozens of hours a day, going, getting refueled, back to it, just going and going and going. Uh, and so can Russia, of course. This is all public information. They don't have anything to hide. They're just doing support stuff. So the fact that they're hiding this information now to start is a big tonal shift. The fact that they feel that that is necessary is substantial, and the fact that they can just do that with the flip of a switch, and
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, we're not going to tell you anymore, is a huge flex. And then that, of course, was preceded, and a couple hours later, by the announcement that Russia will now be mobilizing some 300,000 more troops to go fight in Ukraine. They claim, as part of the official announcement, that 300,000 troops are going to be made up of reservists and volunteers. But what has been seen in practice is mass conscription of prisoners and minority groups. And I'll see if I can find it to talk about it in a little bit here. But there was a really interesting piece from like an unofficial announcement, but still from the president or whatever their head of state is of Mongolia as an open message to all of the people in Russia on their border who are at risk of being adversely affected by these conscription efforts to just come to Mongolia. We will welcome you with open arms. Because this is, part and parcel for how these conscription efforts go, dating back all the way to World War One. Is that you don't want to inscript your people, you inscript the minority populations first. Um, One of the recent examples during the Crimean War, I don't really war, but the Crimean skirmishes that happened back in 2014, was a particular town that was what was it? It was the number worked out to something like 5% of the total conscription, but of the people within that town, 85% of them were of a an ethnic minority group specific to that region.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how the numbers just don't add up. And that is very typical for how these work. They take the people who they think they could push around and basically force into being cannon fodder and send them off to die in a country that they don't care about, that they don't want to be in. And that seems to be what's happening here. So that's like the big news here with that one. Russia is not going to be backing down after the major gains that the Ukrainian military forces have made over the last couple of months, and they are in fact escalating things further.
Just
And
when I thought you couldn't beat them anymore while they were down, they just
yeah,
yeah.
the terrifying thing from the perspective of these people who are being rounded up and conscripted into the Russian military has been the equipment that they're being issued. And the reports that I've seen have varying degrees of reliability to them. Uh, all of it, as far as I'm aware, is photographs and short video clips that are being distributed basically anonymously online. Because if you're one of these conscripts, you of course don't want to be the person that gets pegged as having distributed these, basically troop movements at that point,
Mm-hmm.
because you're probably just going to get uh, killed by by the Russian government. But some stuff is leaked out, and it seems to show the state of the Russian uh, arms situation currently in a very poor light. The one that's making a ton of rounds lately on social media has been an image that appears to depict a group of Russian soldiers, freshly kitted out, ready to go to war, with rifles from literally the 1800s. Most in Nagants. They were used in World War One. They were used in World War Two. And to be fair, they're perfectly capable rifles, but the effectiveness of them in comparison to what we can verifiably know the Ukrainian military is doing, because they're getting all of the, just slightly out of date stuff that NATO's been using, is a huge gap. There's a reason we don't use bolt action, you know, clip fed rifles anymore. And it's because they're not as effective as something fully automatic with a magazine and real sights.
But a gun's a
So,
gun.
in fairness, it is better than no gun, which is kind of what some of the other things that I've seen seem to imply. Uh, and one that I haven't even bothered to go and fact check because it's probably some level of inaccurate, is claims that some other Russian units are being issued like garbage stock AKs that literally don't work, and are being told to take multiple rifles and clean and fix them, taking parts off of other broken ones to get them into a state where they do work.
So you're saying they have
I
to
question the
rebuild their guns?
Yes, I question the validity of that one, and I've been able to find nothing that actually confirms it's legitimate, and it very well could be fake, sensationalist kind of stuff spreading out there, like stuff does. But it is disconcerting, and it's just sad that these people are going to get thrown out there with awful weapons, not awful, but outdated stuff. Like you literally wouldn't send people out there with a muzzle loader because they'd fire one shot, they'd miss, and they'd get killed. It's a waste both of the metal and wood that go into the weapon, not to mention the life of the person who just got killed. And it seems that Russia's at the point where they don't even care about that, based on these accounts, true or not as they may be.
I mean, if you want to believe the cancer rumors, Putin can't go down on a low note like this.
Oh yeah. Well, the really good thing is that he's apparently, according to intelligence and rumors and blah 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 blah, blah, allegedly he has basically retreated to his forest mansion away from the greater cities.
Hey, Putin, I know you got some time on your hands, running the world and whatnot, but if you're at your mansion, you got like a good internet connection, come on to the show, man. Like, I would love to like pick your mind about some of these decisions.
Yeah, they are puzzling to say the least.
And don't bring on an
Um,
interpreter. I know you can goddamn understand what I'm saying.
you know, just saying,
Yeah.
if I had a nickel for every time an unpopular fascist leader of a country was waging a losing war and trying to double down on it, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange it's happened twice now.
Only twice?
Notably, at least.
I was about to say, I feel like you're
It's
forgetting
probably
some
happened
of
a couple more times,
Italy's
but
history. Yeah. You forget that
but
Mussolini was in on that.
fascists. Was he? But he didn't die though.
Oh, you're right. He did not die, but
No.
he did start a
Technically, Putin
losing war.
hasn't yet,
Yeah.
but you know, fascist leaders in bunkers tend not to last so long.
They're like house plants. They need to be outside to
You
grow.
need sunlight.
They need sunlight.
In the wake of Putin's announcement, there's been a number of other more or less sensationalist headlines that have come out. Notably, one of the big ones was related to web searches, with some of the big, greatest web searches in the immediate aftermath being people looking for information on how to break their own arm, and more generally, just how to get out of the country in general. And all of their flights were booked pretty much immediately. So there's huge issues with people trying to flee Russia now so that they don't get conscripted. Um, there's another piece that went like kind of viral of someone in a car trying to leave Russia into like Poland or something like that that had the fucking like Z sticker in their back window,
Ooh.
and they were denied entry, obviously. But it's the same kind of, thing that you see all the time where it's like, oh, it's not a problem until it affects them specifically, right?
Yeah, of course.
It'll never happen to me until it happens to you. And in the wake of that, just yesterday, Putin has signed in a new law stipulating 10 years of jail for anybody deserting or surrendering,
What
or
the
looting too,
fuck?
but yeah. Yeah. Um,
I'm sorry, but how are you going to enforce that? Because when you surrender or if you just like leave, how are they going to find you? Like, I don't know, man. I
yep.
guess, yeah. Pump and circumstance, that one.
Yeah, it's not looking too good. Hilariously though, I thought this was great. I was looking up some of the articles about the NATO transponder thing
Yeah.
for their planes. One of the first hits that comes up on Russia is from r/UFOs, which is all NATO airplanes around Ukraine have turned off their transponders. This is going to complicate UFO reports in the area because it's often correlated with flight trackers.
That's
I
fun.
thought that was amusing.
That is very amusing. Do we have anything else we want to kick Russia while it's down with?
That is the gist of it from the war in Ukraine. Escalation in terms of combat hasn't seemed to happen yet, as it, of course, even if you're doing the poor level of training that I'm sure these conscripts and reservists are going to get, it still is going to be some amount of training. So it'll be an amount of time before we actually start to see anything coming from this. Probably at least a couple of weeks, if not longer. Um, Most of what we've been seeing has been somewhat speculative, I guess you could say, in that It is the aftermath of the announcement and not the direct effects from what the announcement is leading up to. Excuse me. Now I think we're good there. So I want to find some more on this. So let's talk about Trump because he has had a very bad no good week. I think it's safe to say.
Did you just Judy Bloom the former president?
Oh yes, I did.
What the? Okay, I'm all for it. Go on.
So the big thing is that okay, the current case regarding because we're going to talk about two different court cases here, well, three technically, um, relating to the allegations of Trump holding government documents at Mar-a-Lago. The actual court case for that is happening in Washington D.C., of course, because that's where the DOJ is. The appeals that were made were related to the affidavit and the search warrant that were executed in Florida and required sign off through Florida's court systems. So Trump's attorneys appealed in Florida's court systems, specifically seeing themselves in front of Judge Cannon, who is the one that started this whole rabbit hole chain of events regarding a whole bunch of bullshit, but most importantly, and most, I guess, newsworthy, worthily, the special master crap that eventually resulted in the appointment of a special master, which is Deary, I believe his name is. He is a former judge and already fully, qualified to view these documents by the DOJ. Um, and we'll get to his piece here in a second. But the gist of it is that it went to Judge Cannon.
Okay.
Judge Cannon very surprisingly sided with a lot of things on Trump's side, surprisingly. It's not
No.
too surprising once you realize the fact that she was appointed by Trump and wasn't actually instated until after he had already left office. So it's, you can see where her allegiances might lie. It was very well known from the start that Trump and his lawyers had shopped around to find the justice that would be most favorable to them. But after she heard it, the DOJ, of course, appealed immediately to the 11th Circuit that is overseeing that specific Florida system of courts. The 11th Circuit has a large number of Trump appointed judges on it. So there was some concern about the nature of the appeal and where it might go from here. In this case in particular, or for this circuit court in particular, they have a larger number of justices that get randomly selected, I believe it is, to actually hear these appeals. So they have like 11 justices, and of them, 3 of them will get randomly picked to actually hear any given case, with the intent being that it should limit the sort of judge shopping thing like happened with Judge Cannon. You don't know which judge you're actually going to get, so it should encourage people to actually make a good case rather than one that the judge is personally favorable to. In this appeal, 2 of the justices were Trump appointees, one was an Obama appointee.
Okay.
But that didn't actually end up mattering because they granted the DOJ's request for a stay of parts of Judge Cannon's ruling. Okay. And there is some absolute spice in here. So I'm going to read a couple of excerpts because it is very good.
Now, are we talking, like, how spicy are we talking, my dude? Are we talking, like, yeah.
One step short of the appeals court outright saying Judge Cannon intentionally misconstrued the law to be favorable to Trump.
Should I put, like, a hip-hop
It's
beat on this while you're reading these off? Because it sounds like it's going to make
it's
a great
good.
diss.
Well, the flow isn't too good on them,
Okay.
unfortunately, but the words are very well put together.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
let's do this.
So specifically, this appeals court addressed a number of the arguments that Trump and his lawyers were trying to make as to why Trump should still have control or any sort of ownership over these documents in the first place. And they took no time in trying to dismantle them, and successfully, I feel, dismantling them. So, Couple of key excerpts. Plaintiff, Trump, suggests that he may have declassified these documents when he was president, but the record contains no evidence that any of these records were declassified. And before the special master, plaintiff resisted providing any evidence that he had declassified any of these documents. In any event, at least for these purposes, the declassification argument is a red herring because declassifying an official document would not change its content or render it personal. So even if we assume that plaintiff did declassify some or all of the documents, that would not explain why he has a personal interest in them. For our part, we cannot discern why plaintiff would have an individual interest or need for any of the 100 documents with classification markings. Classified documents are marked to show they are classified, for instance, with their classification level. They are, quote, owned by, produced by, or for, or under the control of the United States government, and they include information, the unauthorized disclosure of which could reasonably be expected to cause identifiable or discernible damage to the national security. For this reason, a person may have access to classified information only if, among other requirements, he has a need to know the information. This requirement pertains equally to former presidents unless the current administration, in its discretion, chooses to waive that requirement.
Holy shit.
And then specifically to Judge Cannon, the three-judge panel, two appointed by Trump and one by Obama, concluded that Cannon likely abused her discretion in the way she barred DOJ from accessing said classified documents.
That's less of a holy shit, but yeah, that's just
Mm-hmm.
calling a pig a pig.
Quote, Trump has not even attempted to show that he has a need to know the information contained in the classified documents, nor has he established that the current administration has waived that requirement for these documents.
I love how they keep
It's great.
referencing the current administration as,
Yeah,
it's
because
really.
that is the whole broad concept here that has been intentionally, to be blunt, intentionally misrepresented by Trump and his attorneys, is that they are trying to extol the idea of executive privilege, the idea broadly that the president can do whatever the fuck they want because they are the president. Nixon tried it with Watergate and it didn't fucking work, at least in whole.
Yeah.
And they're trying it again here, but they're completely neglecting the fact that he's not the fucking president anymore.
Well, I think you don't understand, Mr. Cairo, that the election was rigged, and until we get the exact identifiable number of votes from real voters, the real people of this country who went out to vote, I think we should have two presidents at this time. How's that?
It's pretty close.
I've been working on it. I really have.
Okay.
Yo.
So another quote here. Small piece of background. Uh, vocab word of the day: Ricky factors are tools designed to guide a court in deciding whether or not to exercise its equitable jurisdiction in a case which is subject of a search. So it's basically a set of like a bulleted guidance points that say whether something is right or wrong. It is agnostic to the people or the judges involved. It is just used as a guideline.
I loved
Okay.
your word, the use of the phrase agnostic there.
Oh yeah.
That was good. I like
Uh,
that.
appeals court said, in sum, none of the Ricky factors favor exercising equitable justice jurisdiction over this case. Consequently, the United States is substantially likely to succeed in showing that the district court abused its discretion in exercising jurisdiction over plaintiff's motion as it concerns the classified documents. Basically, not only is Judge Cannon's ruling in this matter wrong, she shouldn't have heard it in the first place.
They're really pulling that card, really.
Yes, they went that far with this. Not only are you wrong and stupid, but you shouldn't have started in the first place.
I like
It's
that.
great.
That was good.
Yeah, this is good. This is from one of the people in the law Reddit about that specific piece. Translation. You're so fucking wrong about this one thing that we don't even need to consider the other reasons you're fucking wrong. But we will anyways, just to emphasize again what a complete moron you are.
This is just murder. I'm sorry. Like,
Yes,
I'm
it
not.
is.
I don't like picking sides when it comes to politics because, like, I believe in a truly just world we wouldn't have to choose sides. But
Yep.
like, this is not even fair.
Yep.
This is like taking a fucking child who, won a couple arm wrestling contest in like their cafeteria at school and then putting them in the ring with fucking Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm. And just to really pressure it in there even more, because at this point, Deary had already been assigned as a special master to this case. That part hasn't specifically been removed yet, um, but Deary also took it as a chance to exert his newfound power as special master in a way that is not exactly favorable to Trump. Okay, so Deary said, basically, in short, because the whole point that he's being here at all is that Trump and his attorneys say that they have some amount of privilege that should apply to some or all of the documents seized. And Deary's job is to sort through the documents that were seized, determine if any of them contain privileged information, and return them to Trump if they do. And if they don't, pass them back along to the DOJ,
Okay.
which is simple enough.
Yeah.
Um, but Deary sent over to Trump says, plaintiff Trump shall provide the special master and the government with an annotated copy of the spreadsheet described above that specifies for each document whether plaintiff asserts any of the following: attorney-client privilege, attorney work product privilege, executive privilege that prohibits review of the document within the executive branch, executive privilege that prohibits dissemination of the document to persons or entities outside of the executive branch, that the document is a presidential record within the meaning of the Presidential Records Act with all the different specifics of it, or the document is a personal record within the meaning of the PRA, see whatever. Plaintiff's designation shall be on a document-by-document basis. For any document that plaintiff designates as privileged and or personal, plaintiff shall include a brief statement explaining the basis for the designation. Basically, Deary has come back and said, cool, I'm the special master. Actually tell me why I should let you keep any of these documents.
You succeed. You fit. What's the word I'm looking for? They fit. They succeeded, but they failed.
Yes.
Yes.
Mission failed successfully.
There you go. That's good.
Oh, and the other great part about this is that Deary is doing it pro bono. He's not getting paid at all.
That's a special kind of spite.
Yeah. He has a person who's assisting him who will be getting paid, but he personally has waived payment.
That's still a special kind of spite. That's scary.
Oh, and this is another good one. A list of any specific items set forth in the detailed property inventory that plaintiff asserts were not seized from the premises on August 8th, 2022. So this is Deary saying to Trump to put on the record, do you think the FBI planted any evidence? If he doesn't have anything listed there, then they will be admitting by their omission that they do not believe the FBI planted any evidence like they've been claiming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice. And these were like within days of each other that these came down. One of these was on, I believe, these might have been actually on the same day. No. One was on the 22nd, one was on the 21st. They were a couple of days apart. And then we had another really good one on the 20th, the day before. It's just like boom, boom, boom. Okay. So this is the last, I believe, the last case we'll be talking about regarding Trump specifically, but the New York State Attorney General has officially sued Donald Trump, his three adult children, and the Trump Company over widespread fraud claims and is seeking at least $250 million in penalties for it. This is a continuation of actually it was like in 2018, I think. There's a pretty groundbreaking article detailing basically exactly this, that both Trump and his father before him had a chronic, I don't even have it, scheme of overvaluing their assets when applying for loans and then undervaluing those same assets when applying for taxes, which is, of course, illegal. I mean, not necessarily illegal, but it is. I guess if we'll see where it goes from here. I don't know if anything more than penalties are going to be involved for this. If there is anything that you or I would consider a criminal penalty, or if this is going to be more of a white collar type of a crime. But a key piece is that $250 million number is the low that the New York AG has put forward in this declaration.
So you're telling me they spent years just doing this with physical pieces of record paper that are just hanging around, and now they've got all these years of evidence that can be used against them.
Yep. I would assume a lot of this is related to the cooperation of, is it Alan Weisselberg, I believe his name is. Yes, Trump CFO Alan Weisselberg recently took a plea to a reduced sentence in exchange for pending cooperation in other cases. And I have to assume that his cooperation is to the extent of confirming the legitimacy of the financial records that the New York attorneys have. That would at least make sense.
Sweet
Um,
Jesus.
but this is really bad for Trump and his family.
If I
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, if I was the kids, I'd be freaking out because this is
Oh, yeah.
like I don't know,
Key
man.
piece related specifically to Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago generated less than $25 million in annual revenue, according to the suit. It should have been valued at approximately $75 million, but instead was valued at $739 million when applying for these loans.
Damn.
So yeah, it's not a good look. Yeah, there we go. It is a civil suit specifically, not a criminal one yet. But the AG has specifically said that it is being referred to both the DOJ and the IRS for criminal prosecution, as that would be under their purview. New York is just trying to recover the money that they specifically would have lost as a result of this. And they're passing it on to the federal agencies that would cover this sort of widespread, interstate financial crime. And the biggest piece for New York itself is that as part of this, they're trying to bar the Trump organization from potentially doing business within the state of New York for 5 years.
That's not that long.
But think about how much work they could do in 5 years to remove the Trump organization and put other people in its place in terms of like building management. Because that's all that the Trump organization primarily does, is that they do, like, they own buildings, they don't make them,
Yeah.
they just own them.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I cannot get over how bad of a situation he's in. So if okay, say he were to like lose business in New York, right?
Yeah.
What would happen with the buildings? Would they just like have to sell the assets of those buildings, like management, to a different company, or would they just have to cease business on those buildings for this whole time?
So I don't believe that they would have to transfer ownership of them, but it would be the kind of situation where it would be in their interests to do so. Excuse me, because it would be like applying for permits
Mm-hmm.
would overnight become extremely difficult for them to pursue at all. And you can operate a business or continue to own a building but not being able to partake in the typical avenues that are required by state law in order to continue operation would basically make it impossible. So they're not being forced to sell. It would just be smart for them to do that.
Would
Or
they do
otherwise,
it?
they're just going to start. It depends how hurt for money they actually are. Probably.
I think so.
It would not make sense for them to try and retain these properties when they could just as well sell them to someone favorable to their cause and then buy them back later
Yeah,
if they wanted to. But it would still be a question if they actually have the money to do that. If you're cheating on your loans and your taxes at the same time, it doesn't sound like you're have a really strong grasp on your finances. Okay. Now, I need to see if I can find. Is the New York Times actually gonna let me read this?
no.
Try to understand the situation in Iran.
Okay.
I know that this was all started by the beating of Amini, a woman in Iran, in Tehran specifically, who was arrested and beaten by Tehran's morality police, found herself, as a result of being beaten, in the hospital and later died from those injuries. And it is the government that currently exists and allows for the continuation of things like a morality police that are currently being protested, widespread protests across Iran.
Mm-hmm. I don't.
It's been very interesting seeing people within the country talk about it some, um, because one of the things that I saw about it, because this is of course not the first protest they've had, and all of these protests have to go one of two ways: either the current government collapses or the protest is quashed. And there is debate as to which way this one's going to go because it's very large and widespread. Um, you know, thousands, if not, tens of thousands of people taking to the streets in very open protest of the horrific treatment and continued existence of the theocratic government that they currently have.
Are they a theocracy?
Oh yeah, yeah. Iran has, is it the Shah? Yeah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. No, that's a former Shah. They are broadly a theocracy, though. They are a government that is explicitly tied to Islam.
I was not aware that there were still theocracies out in the world.
Oh yes,
I mean, I know we're trying to become a theocracy, unfortunately, but
yeah. They would certainly like that.
one day.
Yeah. So this is from the U.S. DOJ's website. The official name is the Islamic Republic of Iran, also known as Iran, previously known as Persia.
The country formerly known as Persia.
Uh, The Iranian, this is from the DOJ, the Iranian people are largely pro-Western but are brutally subjugated by an anti-Western religious theocracy. Yep. But there's the question as to whether this will be the final protest. They've had many over the last couple of decades, and then longer back, of course. Um, and those, of course, haven't been necessarily successful. Iran has arguably improved in the wake of those, but it has not been to the extent that many of its people would like, obviously.
No, I thought they'd be happy with all that, you know? That's why they were out protesting to celebrate, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Having a hard time finding the exact numbers, but the gist of it is that there are currently protests in something like 140 cities. And as a in retaliation for those protests, at least 50 other people have been killed by security forces fighting back against these protests.
Sounds like a gay old time.
Yeah, it's not good, but ideally, the government would let their people have the form of government that they want. Uh, but on the then again, they obviously have a vested interest financially, I would assume, as well as ideologically, in making sure that that doesn't happen.
I have nothing else to say to that. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
sad and
It
unfortunate.
is not a ton from to add either, but it is definitely something that is ongoing. Okay, did you hear about Video Game Donkeys indie game production company?
Yes, and I've seen many people make fun of him for it.
Yeah, I have too, and I don't really get it. Like, I guess I do get it, but it seems unwarranted.
I mean, I think a lot of people are seeing it as this guy who has a lot of money is coming
Hmm.
in saying that he's been around things for so long that he automatically thinks he understands the industry. I think that's where they're coming from with this, but I do not know. I don't follow Dunkey that hard, to be honest.
I Guy wants to take his money
Yeah,
and spend it to help indie studios make their games a reality.
yeah,
If that happens, that's awesome.
yeah,
If it doesn't happen, no one's the worse off for it anyways. Like it's not like he's taking other people's money and pocketing it. He's not giving anybody, false hopes or anything. It just seems like a really disproportionate response to how kind of banal the actual action is.
You know, if he actually made like some announcements with it, I would probably have a bigger opinion. But as it stands right now, where he's just like, it's a thing, it's like, okay, it's a thing.
Hmm.
You can't really judge anything like until there's something physical or like a product to
Yeah.
judge.
Well, yeah, and he's not the one making games,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is just the starting point. He's saying that he has the finances, that he wants to help other people make their games. Here's a place to apply. Maybe we'll pick you.
Yeah.
But he's got to get applications first. And people are, of course, going to apply. And at the same time, I think this is actually a really good point. I'm just going to do some comments here on Twitter talking about it. Somebody said, I don't like the ego trip of him saying he's the reason indie games were successful, which was a joke. And it seems that this must have broken out of his typical audience to more of a wider one. And maybe that's where a lot of the misunderstanding is coming from, where people don't understand some of the more recurring themes that he has in his jokes or something like that. And they're taking some things more seriously than he meant them. I could see that leading to some confusion, but that should also be really easy to fix. I don't know. I think it's cool. It's nice to see people who are already engaged with and passionate about video games, but not necessarily involved with making them, doing what they can without trying to act like they know more than other people. Because he's not saying, oh, I'm going to make my own games and it's going to be the best game ever. He's saying, I want to help you make yours. Because he doesn't know how to make games. That's not what he does. He makes videos online.
Speaking of guys who don't know how to make games and make videos, well, make podcasts online, time for us to announce our new indie blockbuster hit. You ready, Kyril?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Let's hear it.
Okay. It's going to be a two schmoes game, right?
Introducing Schmo mode.
Yes. You can play either with your friends or you can play Schmolo. And here's how it's going to work, right, Kyril?
Yeah.
Okay. First things first, we're going to get on the blockchain, right? The game's going to be on the blockchain. Yeah, yeah. And it
Okay.
and it's gonna have a
Do you,
lot
do
of
you, do you, you heard about the what they did to that, right?
No,
they got rid of the blockchain.
no, they did not.
It's not the thing anymore.
The blockchain is forever, Chiral.
Eh,
We're gonna have like a million NFTs of
the fact that I can go online and find a 3090 to buy says otherwise.
we're gonna make a million NFTs, and our game's gonna have a gotcha system where you can get your own NFT pieces, and it's basically just gonna be Bejeweled, but you can buy NFTs of our podcast thumbnails as your pieces to play Bejeweled with.
Okay,
Yep, starting at $79.99 as an intro price.
that's a lot.
Thank you. It's going to be quite the good game. Have you ever played
Hmm.
Bejeweled?
Not really, but I know the idea of how it works.
Yeah, it's going to be just like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It's a good point. It's any though to jump off on the big change to Ethereum.
Yeah, go on. That's actually, I did not mean to transition that beautifully
Yeah.
into it, but let's go. My shit
Well, yeah.
post.
So the big thing that happened was that Ethereum has changed from a proof of work system to a proof of stake, where now rather than having to do computational work to make new Ethereum, people who have Ethereum already will be doing far less intensive calculations, verifying the existing uh, pools of it and verifying the records. And for doing that, Ethereum will be issued instead, which has caused the crypto market in general to massively plummet. And along with it, graphics cards, which is what I actually care about. You can go out and actually build a computer now.
No
And
way.
it has been so precipitous that like literally we're only a couple days after it happening. Best Buy has graphics cards for sale on sale.
Nature is healing.
You can go and buy a 3080 Ti basically at MSRP now. It's crazy. Like literally overnight. And there's still a lot of stuff specifically that is sold out. Interesting. Best Buy's website's kind of broken.
Oh no.
It won't let me exclude out of stock items. Well, I suppose that doesn't really matter. But it is certainly been wild to see excuse me, just how fast uh, it has turned around. And it is so two things.
Okay.
One, there is with the way that Ethereum is currently working, there are oh, that's weird. Why did it do that? There is the prerequisite that you already hold a certain amount of Ethereum that works out to something like $20,000 worth. It's just the mathematical how it works out in order to participate in this proof of stake system. But you can do so by pooling your Ethereum with other people. So it doesn't have to be an individual. It just has to be a group of Ethereum that adds up to at least that much. And that has changed it from people mining their own stuff to people pooling together their, scraps of Ethereum. Say you only have like half of one, right? Or the equivalent. You can pool that with, 20 other people and get into the proof of stake system. So it isn't necessarily prohibitively expensive for non the people who don't have $20,000 sitting around to get into this, but the profit margins on it are far less. And the other side of it is that if you look at the top cryptocurrencies at all, it of course goes Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then the next one is so far down that it is not profitable to mine at all. It just isn't. And that's kind of just where the situation is gonna lie for a bit, it seems. But yeah, it's been a pretty crazy week.
Wow. It's almost like that thing that we said about crypto crashing would
Hmm.
happened.
It happened.
What's our next big prediction? Are we going to be like the next Simpsons?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Simpsons was able to make it work just by having so many things that eventually they get it right.
Okay. Here's my next one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um the queen will rise back up from her grave and we'll have a zombie queen.
Phase 2 has started.
Phase 2. They did say she was entering a new phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like getting a necromancer involved. The queen was such an icon, man, that Britain just wouldn't let her down like that. They're too loyal.
No.
Yeah. What else do we have on the chopping block for entertainment?
Okay. So I haven't seen Edge Runners. I assume you haven't either.
I
But
don't
it
even
does
know what
seem
it is.
worth, yeah, it seems worth noting that it is a thing. It is kind of the latest Netflix anime trend that people have been talking about lately, and it has invigorated the cyberpunk video game with a new wave of people actually caring about it. Also comes off of the back of CD Projekt Red announcing both that the expected paid DLC the game would be receiving will not be paid. It will be
Ooh.
free for anybody who has the game, and that it will be the only future DLC for the game. That just given how much of a clusterfuck the game was already, they're going to they ended up having to spend so much more time on fixing what was broken that they didn't have the opportunity to finish the plans like they wanted to. But they have also announced a sequel for the game. So for the people who like it, and it seems like a good game, it was just kind of unplayable for almost everyone when it launched.
Mm.
But most of that has been fixed already, and it's getting sort of a renewed wave of interest in it. And it seems to be, CD Project Red hasn't been completely washed, at least. They just messed up a bad launch. Apparently, someone from IGN also tweeted out that one of their hottest pages right now is Pan Am Romance Guide, which is one of the characters in Cyberpunk.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
Yeah.
So, do you ever get the feeling like Netflix has this weird model of just like always finding like some weird way to get shows to trend that honestly don't sound that great?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they do it. I didn't expect Cyberpunk to have like a decent anime or like to get come back from an anime. Not necessarily a Netflix original anime.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you know what's the best Netflix anime?
What's that?
Cobra Kai. But tis.
But this.
Actually Breaking Bad's a pretty good anime as well.
Apparently, they were going to make a Magic the Gathering anime. And they're still in the plans of making some Netflix adaptation for some Magic the Gathering show, but it sure as hell hasn't happened yet.
Magic is such a weird thing. Like I feel like they try to
Hmm.
branch out to so many multimedia properties, but they
Well, they
never
don't though.
yeah.
I mean, they should. It would be really successful. They just don't.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know how do they get so far with a entertainment property and they don't do the multimedia shindig. It's like not that hard.
Nope.
Fucking League of Legends has better multimedia representation than fucking Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's very much a Wizards of the Coast thing because you can look at their other stuff like D&D and see how limited it is. Also, D&D is better than Magic, but it's like nothing compared to League or Warhammer, especially. Warhammer has like dozens of video games that release like annually because they're so loose with it, and Magic can't get even one to work. Did you hear about the Magic like Diablo clone that they tried to put out?
There was a Magic Diablo clone.
It never made it out of beta because it was that bad.
How do you fundamentally make that break so much?
So it was functionally fine, but they had ended up changing so much from the original IP that it was nearly indistinct from or indistinguishable from Magic. Like it didn't look like a Magic game. It just looked like a cheap Diablo clone that was too brightly colored.
Again, how do
It's
you.
it's weird. It's
Yeah.
like it's like for some reason Wizards of the Coast decided that okay, we'll let you make this game, but you can't actually use any of the magic stuff, just the branding and some of the characters' names. You have to do.
No. That sounds so incredibly awful. Like, this is. There's nothing sacred about Magic's branding at
Yeah.
the end of the
When
day.
they seem to treat it that way though. It was even like really basic stuff because the whole gist of it was that you had a deck, quote unquote, of spells that you cast.
Yeah.
And the deck was like pseudo random, and when you cast one of your spells, it shuffled away into the next one. So it was like a Diablo style, dungeon crawling hack and slash gameplay. But you also had the element of constructing your deck of spells in a way that was both optimal and consistent. So you could get the spells you wanted the most often. But for whatever reason, they didn't let them, or the team didn't decide to use. We don't actually know, but presumably the didn't get permission to use like the actual magic spells. It was all just like generic crap that didn't evoke the same stuff. You didn't have lightning bolts and giant growths and counter spells. It was, just stuff far more generic, or in the cases where they did use the same names, had no correlation at all to the actual Magic the Gathering cards that shared that name. And it was a huge mess.
I just don't know how you can't do that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
It
Magic.
seems like such an easy thing.
Yeah, I don't even play Magic that regularly, but even I, as someone who's like not magic, like that literate in Magic, could like
Mm-hmm.
picture it pretty vividly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it should be easy. One of the things that they've actually done quite successfully that has given a lot of people some false hope about the possibility of a Magic anime has been the Magic manga series.
There's a
That's done
manga.
very well. Yeah. Oh, it's actually really good.
Okay.
It's set in kind of like an alternate timeline kind of thing where it's all the same characters, but certain events happen. Like it's like sort of a what if,
Yeah.
What if X villain ended on Y plane, or what if blank actually won such and such fight, that kind of stuff. And it's not super established yet, but it's been wildly popular, and it has a beautiful art style. Let me see if I can find it because it's really cool, and people like it, and they want this kind of stuff, but they're just so reluctant to give it to people. It doesn't make sense. These things should be just easy, and they can't line it up. Maybe it's not like an actual manga, maybe it's just like a comic book, I guess they would call it, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
This is official stuff that they've just never fully explored, at least in a way that's satisfying to the average fan of the game.
I mean, that looks pretty decent. The
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
It's really functional. and it does a good job of conveying these stories because that's what people like about Magic. It's the world. The game is fun, but the world is what makes it distinct. It's the combination of them. And it feels like they've just left the story aspects of it just on the wayside for no seemingly good reason.
It feels very much like Magic can just go to anything pretty easily. Like, it's a very fully developed world, all things
Yeah.
considered. Yeah,
Yeah. They have the work done already.
they did the hard part.
They put out every set. They put out an excellent guide that is literally called the Planeswalker's Guide to Plane that they were on, and it has all of this stuff already there, full of the details, the gritty lore, how the culture of these places work, and then they don't do anything with it. It feels like they make the set and then they stick it on a shelf.
Never to be explored again.
Yeah, should be so easy for them to do it, and they just don't. And honestly, it lends itself just being such a game that is so visually strong in its identity. It should be easy for them to make these transitions over to something like an anime because you already have the style and tone established. You just need to make it. You don't have to do anything new. You just have to do the work. And it feels like they don't want to put the time and money into actually doing that.
I wonder, like, what they expect, like, the cost of making something like that would be versus the forcing profits.
So that's the thing though. For that's the genius of the way that Warhammer does it. Is they don't pay people to do this usually. Or if they do, it's very small amounts. But they do so many of them that just by like laws of averages, some of them are going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of bad stuff or uninspired stuff, but that mostly gets ignored. And you're not the one necessarily because like Magic is such a massive IP at this point, it has cultural weight that you wouldn't even need to pay companies to do this for you. And I think that must be where the hiccup comes in, where they want to pay people to do it for them and go through it all themselves when you just need to give people permission to use the property and they'll do the work for you for free
Yep.
because as long as they're making something good, they're gonna make their money.
What is a company you would like to see license Magic?
In terms of like a video game style,
Yeah, let's go with. We'll start with a
or
video game. Yeah.
so I would personally want to see something in video games from either I would prefer to see it in a first person perspective, similar to how the first BioShock games did their plasmid system,
Mm-hmm.
where you have these specific things and it's very visual in front of you and you're casting spells or whatever, but from that first person perspective, and you treat it in the way of like just an RPG, right, where that's your combat and you use that to facilitate the going between point A and B and telling the stories of these planes that you already have built up.
So like an Elder Scrolls like with the
Yes,
plasmid
Elder Scrolls
system.
is actually exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should be a slam dunk. But I don't know.
So you're saying
They
that you need
can't
to get
stick the landing.
Bethesda in on that.
Yeah, maybe not Bethesda. Um, but like CD Projekt Red, I feel like they could do an incredible job with property like that. Same way they did Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk started off as a tabletop RPG.
It did?
I'm pretty sure it at least was popularized as one in like the early 2000s, and I'm pretty sure it continues to be one to this day. But like it absolutely has been one. But it seems like there's so much that gets caught up with the trading card side of it. Like they want to make sure that people know it's a trading card game, and there's cards that you can buy that they fail to realize that just having that brand presence is so much more impactful. Like Cyberpunk, a game that a lot of people would probably call dead after a horrendous launch, has gotten a second wind just because it had a pretty looking TV show that was put together really well. Nothing related to the actual gameplay itself, all story.
Yes.
That's all you need. You get people to care about the characters or show them the characters that they already care about in a new way, and they will do the work that you want them to do for you. You know, if you do a really cool anime that has Jace at the center of it, you're going to get droves of people that want to go and make the best Jace deck they can in Commander, for example.
It's almost like they could use that as a way to just drive up the value of their cards.
You'd think,
Yeah.
but they just don't.
I mean, think about it. Do it like the Jace example, and then
Mm-hmm.
next set only print like 3 versions of Jace. Or I don't know how many Planeswalkers versions there are technically in a set in Magic, but you're
It
just
depends.
yeah.
But yeah, I get what you mean. The big thing that is wild is that now Magic the Gathering has their secret layers, which are their little one-off sets that are limited release. You buy them directly from Wizards of the Coast. You don't go through Amazon or a game store. You buy it specifically through Wizards of the Coast. They're printed to demand, and you have a limited window to actually make your purchase of them, and then you get them like 4 months later. They made a secret layer in collaboration with Arcane or the Netflix show,
Yeah.
using the visuals from the show and translating them into existing Magic cards. And the obvious thing is that if you just make a Magic the Gathering show, you can just make cards based on that, and then people who like the show will buy those cards.
Yeah.
But they can't make that connection, I guess, for whatever reason.
This is the shit
It
that
makes no sense. It's very yeah, exactly. Pokemon.
yeah, this is the shit Pokemon's been doing
It's
for the 90s.
it's so frustrating. Well, Pokemon has been kind of resistive in their own ways.
Yeah.
Pokemon's done well because they've always had the TV show and the movies to kind of sideline with it. But there was like a good 15 years where they wouldn't make any Pokemon spin-off games. It was just the mainline ones. And sometimes you got a mystery dungeon.
I like how you just put that sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, you're right.
Like they made really good side games. And then they just never did it again. And they've started to do it again in defense of not in defense, but in fairness to Game Freak and Pokemon Company, whatever the fuck they're called now. They have been a lot better than that with like Pokemon. Was it Pokemon Unite or whatever it is? Their
The MOBA.
MOBA battler thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been very successful, and it seems like just a fun game to play. The new Pokemon Snap is a really welcome change of pace, and I'm glad that they brought that series back. But like those cowards at the Pokemon Company need to make another Pokemon RPG. Where's Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness 2 Cringe Boogaloo?
Oh my god. Yo, okay, I don't know what it is, but this is like personal anecdote here, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Not just you, not
yeah.
just my friend, another friend, but like a whole bunch of people in my life have been like screaming that at me, like as if
Yes.
I don't know where it came from. It's like every one of you, every fucking one of you, out of nowhere, just said this all, and it's all in the span of like a week that this has been happening to me. And like I get it, I wanted to, I do, but I'm just like somehow you all awakened at the same time, and I'm just like
Oh, we've always been here. We're just sleeper agents. We're waiting.
your
We
sleeper
have a
agents.
key, a trigger word.
Did Elon fully activate your programming?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's what
Elon.
the FSD is.
That's what it is. Oh my god.
No, but have you ever played any of the Pokemon like main RPGs, Coliseum or Gale of Darkness?
So my cousin had Gale of Darkness, and we would play that a
Mm.
lot. That was a very interesting way of doing it. Do you
Mm-hmm.
realize that, like, for the first two generations of Pokemon on there, like, those were N64 models?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was rough.
And then you see them compared to the newer generation models in there, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it was rough, but they were fun. They were put together well enough. They haven't aged super great, but they gave a really unique uh experience for the time in particular that existed in parallel with the main games in a really appealing way. And they've kind of ironically, they've kind of gone back to that with the newest mainline games, but at the expense of the more artistically focused style that they used to have with the pixel art.
I do miss the pixel art a
Hmm.
lot. I have like
Yeah.
this weird nostalgia boner lately for anything pixel art.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really nice. Have you seen the prices on the old GameCube games like that?
I'm pulling up eBay right now.
It's dumb.
Is it
It's
dumb?
really dumb. I have both of them and I should honestly sell them because it's stupid. They should not cost that much money. But that's what happens when something doesn't get re-released, right?
Yeah.
They make it once and the only way you can actually
Oh,
play it, yeah, right? It's
oh.
dumb. It makes no fucking sense.
Disc only for Gale of Darkness, $175.
Yeah. I think I picked them up, both of them, for like 10, 15 bucks used at like GameStop.
Dude, just keep it for a while, dude. That's gonna just drive up.
It's ridiculous.
This is the bubble. This is your new Bitcoin. This is the new God.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Have I ever
it
told?
doesn't make sense.
So you know how Nintendo did this thing with Mario, the 35th anniversary, like 3D All Stars thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do I put this? I got a second copy of that because the Amazon person that I bought it from uh fucked up and sent me a second copy sealed. And I'm just
Hmm.
hoarding that shit like a dragon right now because I know that's going to pay
Yeah.
off big because it was such a
Yep.
limited print thing. I'm
For
looking at
sure.
I'm looking at it right now. So Amazon Mario 3D All Stars unsealed is going for like $75. So there's a couple of listings for $60. So it's probably more around the $60 range, but people are demanding $75 for it.
Hmm. Let's talk Twitch real quick.
Oh, go on.
So Twitch announced this week that their finances are changing for a huge number of their streamers, and that the revenue split for big streamers is getting cut back to 50-50, and it's pushing a lot of people off their platform.
How so?
This is the first change that I've seen Twitch do that seems to actively be driving people away. I have seen in this last week more because I follow quite a few people on YouTube, of course,
Yeah.
and most of the people who both make videos and stream make videos on YouTube and stream on Twitch, just because that's where the audiences for that are. But I've seen more people ever than ever this week start streaming on YouTube instead of Twitch for the first time ever. Just trying it out, seeing how it works, seeing if it makes sense. Because they got shafted by Twitch. And they're kind of, seeing the writing on the wall of this continuing and potentially getting worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, people aren't happy.
I can't imagine
And Twitch
why.
Twitch got ratioed on Twitter for it, of course.
Oh no. Currently looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not finding anything, but I'm going to take your word for it because it sounds like the kind of thing they would get ratioed for.
Yeah, I can send you a link here.
Cool.
But yeah. Not a super popular move. They're also making putting out more ads on it. And I don't watch a ton of stuff on Twitch, but I specifically went to tune in for a stream on it was last Friday, 2 days ago,
Hmm.
that was happening on Twitch because I wanted to watch it. And I was presented with 8 30-second ads before the stream had even started. And I see a ton of people giving YouTube shit for their change in policy when Twitch is the one that has already been doing exactly that kind of crap for like a year now, where it just makes some of this stuff unwatchable. And I'll tell you what, in that what 4 minute span that I had there sitting there with ads in my face, I used my time productively to go find a Twitch ad blocker extension for Chrome because fuck that.
I've always hated Twitch's ad policy. I never go on Twitch because
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Yep, it sucks.
Like unforgivable shit. I was I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was listening to an audiobook the other day and I heard like an ad go off and I was thinking to myself while this ad was going on, I wonder if we could like find a cure for cancer in the time that we listen to ads in the span of a day. And as hyperbolic as that may seem, what's the real cancer here?
Mm-hmm.
What you doing there, Kyril?
Pulling up next story
Ooh.
about GTA 6.
Oh yeah.
It's a thing.
Somebody's going to get fired.
No, somebody is being charged.
Oof. Is it me?
Are you a 17-year-old in California who also tried to sue Uber, who had tried to blackmail Uber?
Yes, I am in fact.
Oh, well then yes, it might be you.
Hell yeah.
So the gist of it, from what I understand, is that basically Rockstar had their servers hacked, and how that's how this stuff got leaked out was through hacks. And the person responsible for that was also responsible for hacking information from a number of other companies, and they have been arrested and are probably going to be looking at some amount of time in jail as a result of it. Because they're asking like Uber or something for like $1 million, and they won't release the information. It's like, come on, like it's clearly a kid that did this, and they've been arrested, and we know it's a kid because they're 17 years old.
This is why.
But
Yeah, go on.
we did get a look at the GTA 6 in a super early stage of development, and it seems as likely as ever now that we're going to be going more than 10 years without a new GTA game. Last GTA 5 released in 2013.
What?
Yeah,
It was that long ago.
it released on the PS3 and the 360, I'm pretty sure.
No way.
I'm almost certain. Yeah. Grand Theft Auto 5, PS4, Xbox One, PS3, Series X, Series S, 360, PS5.
I don't remember it looking that old.
No, it didn't. It was a phenomenal game, and they did a great job with the next gen updates for it, both of them. But yeah, it is a game that has spanned 3 console generations, and we might not see its sequel until the fourth, or the next one. And that's just going off of the state of the development in it. It's hard to blame Rockstar for it. They're still making like $1 billion a year off of the online.
Yeah,
So like, yeah, keep that hustle going. They don't need money.
I found
But GTA 6 is in the works.
I found this great diagram of like how they've improved the graphics for each generation for that game.
Yeah. And it's like it's real. They've actually done a good job.
Yeah, they've got talented people over there.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot believe that this game is that old.
I know.
Not
It
even,
doesn't feel like it.
yeah. Like I thought it was a PS4 game. It may have been in that awkward point between
Mhm.
generations, but
It was. It
okay.
definitely was. Where I think it released on PS3 before the PS4 released, but it was like pretty soon after launch also on the PS4. It was very close. But the PS4 was around for like 6 years or something like that on its own.
Mm.
So not a short amount of time either. This is unfortunate. I saw some bit about this, but Take Two, the GTA publisher, has been copyright claiming the shit out of all of the leaked footage.
Have you seen some of the leak footage?
I did, yeah, and I was trying to pull some more up as like a refresher for it, but it seems like it has all been mercilessly taken down.
I wasn't like that impressed with it because obviously it's a early build.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks fine
yeah.
for an early build. It functions. It's an open, and that's the big thing with an open world game like GTA, is that as long as you have the world and the game functions mechanically, you can smooth out a lot of the stuff like the AI and the actual stories very late in development. As long as the things are interacting right, and it seemed like they mostly were. It was just a bit clunky and visually a bit, not smoothed over yet. um the actual meat of it being the story and the interactions between you and the NPCs is super easy to fix in a later stage in development, and it guaranteed that it is. They probably have a framework for how they want the city to be and how they want the story to go, but like we've been seeing in the aftermath of it, uh how that actually looks in practice is very wildly different from the final product when you're this early in development.
Even then, like for an early build, it doesn't look bad. I've seen worse early builds than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've actually been getting, in the wake of it, a ton of great looks into the development of many, many popular games when they were this early in development. We're sharing some earlier with stuff like from Uncharted, where they have basically a finished level with physics and scripting and everything, but none of the visuals worked out yet. And they go through the process of showing how they build up step by step by step, and the actual gameplay doesn't change all that much. It's just how it's presented.
Yeah,
Stuff like Horizon Zero Dawn, where the Thunderjaw is just like you said, it looked like a Lego dinosaur practically.
yeah, dude. It looked like a
Yeah, it
Pokemon.
does. It's crazy. It's super early looking. Really good one that I couldn't find it again, but of Control, that looks like absolute shit, but it plays, and it went on to win multiple awards for its graphics. It's a whole bunch of stuff like that, and it's been very amusing to see some of these shitheads on Twitter get just proven completely wrong.
But graphics are literally the first thing that gets finished, Chiral.
Yeah, the first thing.
Yeah. As someone,
Graphics are done, and then the rest of it.
yeah, as someone who, did the graphics for this podcast, I can attest it's the first thing that gets done. There's no evolution in the art process whatsoever. It's all just done right there.
Mm-hmm. I love that the bullshit that started this is from a guy whose name is literally just average guy.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah, yeah. It was I'm pretty sure at least it was this stupid fucking tweet.
If you know how the game development goes, you know that visuals are one of the first things that get done. This game is 4 years into planning and development. What you see is almost exactly what you will get. The next year is mission coding and debugging, all back end stuff. It does look ass. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me you know nothing about game design without telling me you know nothing about game design.
Yep. Yeah, it is just so wrong.
I just don't understand people like this. Like, I get it. You play video games, which is cool, but like, it doesn't mean like it's like saying you like your movies and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
but you automatically assume you can make a movie based off the fact that you've seen like fucking Godfather 3 times. No, you can't do shit. Can't do it.
Pretty sure. Yeah. There's a whole subreddit called Confidently Incorrect.
Yo,
I'm wondering if
send
this
me
is
that.
like the top one.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Here we go.
Confident. There we go. I found it.
Yeah.
That is a good smug poster for it.
Mm-hmm.
Avatar.
This is just like, yeah, it is on there. It's not the top one from this week, but it's pretty high up there. The game development understander has logged on.
When I was younger, I wanted to go into game development in like animation because I wanted to be an animator as well. And it, I saw like this little flyer for a camp, and I realized just how much fucking work goes into that. That I just noped the fuck out, and now I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we have to kick while they're down?
Not so much. No movies really to talk about this week, unfortunately. Bit of a slow one still. Uh, Avatar is coming out soon, so that'll be interesting.
Yo, I heard a rumor that they removed the hair sex scene.
Did they really?
I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not.
Oh, apparently the original Avatar is back in theaters.
Oh, that's what I meant. My apologies.
Oh no, I sorry, I meant the sequel. I've been seeing a lot of stuff in the run up to it, but that's weird if they did.
I mean, I don't know how to feel about it. What purpose did the hair sex scene in Avatar serve, my
I
good
mean,
dude?
it wasn't meant to be like actual sex. It was more an example of how they
Fuck.
culturally bonded. No, because they still have a dick.
Do they have a
That's not
dick?
literally yes. That's the whole point and why they do the same thing with like the animals thing. It's not a means of reproduction. It's just a different way of like telepathically almost communicating and expressing more vague concepts in a literal way.
I don't want to imagine what an avatar's, I mean, what a Navi's dick looks like.
Look, I'm just saying they're like 10 feet tall, so it ain't gonna be small.
No, there's a non zero chance that it's less than a foot long.
Have you seen horses?
God, they are like horses though, so
They
it
kind of
could
are.
be like. Do you think it like it may not have like a human head, but it may have like the same kind of tendrils that come out of the hair?
God. No,
I'm stopping this. I can't go
please
on.
do. You've already gone too far and you've barely started.
I know James Cameron did not die for these sins.
Oh no.
I feel like I'm about to throw up.
But yeah, the sequel is coming soon. When does it actually release? It has to be pretty soon.
I think it's
So
like
like,
December.
is it really?
Yeah.
I thought it was sooner than that.
Can't have it interfere
Avatar.
with a Marvel movie, and Wakanda Forever's claimed November.
December 16th. Marvel usually has a winter release too, though.
I think it's. I don't know. I just know we have Wakanda Forever to look forward to.
Oh, Quantumania is in February. Okay, that would do it.
Mm, mm-hmm.
I guess they changed how they normally would do their releases.
Or
Oh God,
they didn't have
this,
Sony breathing down their neck to make like a holiday,
yeah.
release.
I guess Black Adam is still coming out.
Have you seen that fucking post about Black Adam?
No.
So Dwayne the Rock Johnson like posted this thing on Instagram the other day about like being on the marketing committee for the movie, And he said it was like some 4 hour long movie. I mean, like a meeting. And at the end of it, he posted his notes, and it was just 1 page long. And it's like, what we know about Black Adam: he's cool, and he doesn't listen to no one.
Oh no. Apparently there's something called the Justice Society in it.
Why are they doing the Justice Society?
I don't know. Because they can't do the Justice League while fucking Flash guy is off evading the FBI still.
Oh, Ezra.
Yeah, Ezra Miller. I'll have to watch this trailer later. I didn't realize they had an actual trailers out for Black Adam yet.
Oh, I saw it in theaters, and I was not looking
Oh
forward to
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh no.
Are you afraid, Kyril? You better
No.
be.
Hey, curious. Did you know that YouTube apparently has a bunch of movies to watch for free on it now?
No
Like
way.
actual movies. Yeah. Maybe this is like I have premium because fuck ads. I and I like supporting creators, but it doesn't seem like it's a premium thing. It's just in their movies tab they have a whole thing of free shit.
Huh.
And it's got like actual decent looking movies, like The Prestige and Salt. Like nothing groundbreaking, but like could be way worse.
Yeah, it could be fucking Tubi.
Yeah, for free stuff? Like come on.
There's no good free options for streaming as far as I'm concerned. There's like
No.
Tubi and Pluto, but those are like barely passable.
One thing that I need to look into is called Plex, with the idea being that you sign into other streaming services through Plex, and it acts as a middleman that sort of takes all of the subscriptions that you have and puts them into one spot, lets you download stuff, watch it wherever you want per device, and it has like a one-time payment that's like lifetime that you have the option of buying. So it doesn't turn into another subscription. It's just software that you use.
That's pretty cool.
And it works for movies that you have offline. So if you set up Plex on like your PC and you say these are the movies and music, and because you can put like Spotify and stuff into it too. This is the stuff I already have. These are my subscriptions. It pulls it all together and lets you view it on a mobile device, for example.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's like, yeah, that's what people should want. Oh shit, they have all right. Assuming YouTube movie shit is actually free for people, The Sisters Brothers is on it. Very good movie. It's kind of weird and it's paced a bit awkwardly, but it's very good, and it proves that John C. Riley is actually an actor and not just a comedy man.
He's not just Will Ferrell's like stunt double.
No, he's not. He
Whoa.
actually knows what he's doing apparently, which I guess in a way kind of makes it worse that he still does all the shit that he does with Will Ferrell. But I do highly recommend The Sisters Brothers. I saw that on in theaters. I don't regret it. It is quite well put together.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll age really well, and people would be like, "Man, I wish I could have seen that in theaters." Because it does have, it was very clearly shot for that kind of a screen with the way that they do the colors in it and the lighting.
But you know what you can see in theaters again?
What's that?
Fucking the classic cinematic masterpiece Avatar.
Oh yeah.
I really find it hilarious how this movie had to be re-released because the wait between this and Avatar 2 was so long.
There's just okay. If you're the person who has the rights to it, you might as well, because there's nothing in theaters right now that's worth a damn, as far as I'm concerned. Like I've checked every once in a while, and there's just been nothing for like it feels like a month and a half now. There's not been anything that I would give a shit to go and see.
I can't believe they fucking have Avatars 3 and 4 still planned.
Like that should tell you the state of the movie industry right now, where they have to fucking re-release Avatar in order to fill their theaters. It's wild. It's almost like the big streaming companies left a massive void in the movie industry by only focusing on cheap shit that goes straight to streaming or really expensive stuff that only comes out 2 or 3 times a year.
This would be a great time for indie studios if they had the money.
Yeah.
But it's
It would be a
almost
great time if you were like fucking Warner Brothers and you had your head pulled out of your ass and you actually gave these people who were making good movies the money to make their movies. And you just settled for not making all of the money, but still making a pretty damn good amount of money.
but chiral tax write-offs.
Yeah. It's not even that. It just doesn't make sense. It seems like the people in the executives of these production groups have just completely lost touch with why people make movies in the first place. And they just care about the money of it. And that's a shame.
To be fair, I think they're all very intimidated by the fact that you have so many places playing it so conservatively that if you had like one financial flop, it may like you may lose a lot from a
Well,
financial flop.
yes, technically that might be true, but the alternative though is that they've gone and they put all of their eggs in one basket with the
Yeah,
current strategy they have. It 20 years ago, you're releasing 5 or 10 movies every quarter. So if one or two of them suck, you've still got 8 others to prop you up. And you don't have to spend MCU money on every movie that you make. And that seems to be the big problem that a lot of these groups have sort of pigeonholed themselves into. Like looking at you, fucking Warner Brothers, is that they see what Disney is doing and how much fucking money they're making, and they want a cut of that. Their shareholders want a cut of that, and they try to dig into the same way that Disney has, and they just can't compete. They can't do it to save their lives. So that leaves us where we are now.
yeah. Again, I think it'd be a great time for indie studios to come take a rise in power. Like
Mm-hmm.
since there's so much
Yep.
open air, and I think see like stuff like A24 is definitely jumping in on it. But like it's almost like we had this big issue where no one was going to the fucking movies for a couple of years, and that put a lot of small places in very bad positions already, so they can't capitalize on this great effort.
Mm-hmm.
Streaming wars suck, dude.
Yep.
I want there to be like an article one day on like the casualties of the streaming wars, things that could have been good, but because of the politics of streaming, they just weren't able to be taken advantage of fully. Like our beloved lost love, Netflix Bebop or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last story I have
Okay.
is that millennials are ruining alcohol. That seems to be the general vibe, though. But sorry, Gen Z.
Mm.
They've shifted it. It's not millennials anymore because millennials are writing these stories, and they can't be the ones at fault. Um, Gen Z is drinking less alcohol. Who would have guessed? It's almost like people are going out less for some reason. It's just the usual stupid thing that you would expect to see in this kind of stuff, but it's just I thought it was very amusing how it was presented.
I mean, we ruin everything, man. The younger crowd always ruins everything.
Yeah,
Eh.
for the people who've been around the block already, they could never do something wrong.
Well, it's just that they've been on the block and they know how it's supposed to be done. So when we decide to do something else because we're just different people, it's just fucking unethical.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No, I'm just sitting over the corpse of my beloved Cowboy Bebop Netflix adaptation.
Hmm.
Appar-
Yeah.
Apparently, they did describe what season 2 storylines would have been if they ever got a season 2, such as Ed finds out the meaning of true family, Jet's arm malfunctions and trips out. He's able to play saxophone one handed while tripping out. Spike gets his demons from the Blue Crow Massacre put to rest. And Faye finds out who she is. Julia discovers Heavy is the head that wears a crown. And Vicious would be reborn, and Ein saves the day. I don't know what the fuck any of that means, but oh well.
Sounds pretty generic, like they didn't have it finished yet.
Yeah, it's almost like they were really wondering if they get a season 2 or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Unfortunate.
I'm Neef Miss Orion, and I've been a Schmo.
I'm Cairo, and I've been a Schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmo Show, baby.